All right. Welcome, Carly. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing awesome. So I was actually talking to your mom, who is a fitness inspirer. She does the signature program and also she's an entrepreneur. She has a business.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we got on the topic, but all of a sudden she told me this, I'm going to call it experiment or maybe bribe. We'll learn the whole story later, but that you have been doing for the last year. And I was like, oh, I need to talk to her. Can I talk to her on the podcast? Because the podcast is all about making changes you love to live with. And
Yes.
oftentimes, what I encourage my clients to do from a fitness perspective and even like lifestyle and nutrition, and anytime you're doing behavior change, you're
Right.
naturally going to feel resistance to it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I want us to think of like making changes you love to live with. Yes, that's what we're going for. But sometimes we have to try things, give it the college try, give it a time period
Right.
that you're going to go all in and say like, I'm going to do this, whatever this formula it is. Like, I am going to work out 3 days a week for the signature program and do one online workout from our library for extra credit and make this change. I'm going to eat my vegetables at the beginning of every meal. Like, whatever it is, you have to give it a chance to kind of see if they're actually changes you love to live with. So
Right.
when I heard your experiment, I'm like, I need to hear the story. I wondered so much, like, how was it for you? And so I'll ask you questions along the way, but tell us what this what I consider grand experiment, especially because it'd be one thing if you were my age and doing this experiment,
Right.
because I didn't come to age with social media. Oh,
Right.
I just spoiler, but it's different because you are in high school, correct?
Right. Yeah.
You're in high school. And so you kind of like, you grew up with
Right.
social media.
Yeah, I did.
So tell us the story of how you decided to do this year-long experiment and what this was.
So it started off when we were in Florida last year with my aunts. We were actually sitting by the pool and she said I would pay my kids not to have social media. So I was like, well, how much are we talking? And so
At a girl, I love that.
she
You're like, let me hear the stakes.
yeah.
Okay.
So she set an amount
Okay.
and I was like, I'll take it.
Do you
So
want to share the amount or no?
yeah, I can.
Okay. What is
She
it?
said I would get 500 from one aunt and 500 from another aunt, so it would be $1,000 from both of them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So, okay. So, did you have any inclination? I love that you went right for it. You're like, how much money we're talking? Like, get it
yeah,
all figured out before
right,
you're saying, like, yeah, I would do that.
yeah,
You're so funny. But how did you have any inclination of why? Like, where was this coming from both of your aunts? So clearly they love you, but where is it coming from? Where like, oh, I would pay my kids not to have social media. Like,
right.
what was their belief? Like, where did this come out of? Like, what was their belief on that then? What do you
I
think?
think like mostly like I said like I wanted to take pictures so I could post it on Instagram,
Okay.
and she was just like, yeah, I would like basically pay my kids not to have it to like not like people like on Instagram.
Mhm.
And I think just like people can judge like what you're wearing, like how you're doing, like your body
Yeah.
image
Yeah.
too. So I think she got it from that kind of.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you
just
for
why.
sharing that in that
Yeah,
language, because that takes like bravery on
right.
your even just to share that with us. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
100%. Like, we're basically inviting comparison and judgment in a way, like
right,
sometimes, right?
right.
So like kind of what I'm hearing as part of it is like we want, and I have an 8-year-old and she is already campaigning for a phone.
Right.
She's already campaigning like, when is this going to happen and
Yeah.
things like that. And I'm like, because like as moms and as just people, like, and even myself, like I never want to go on social media when I'm in a bad frame of mind,
Right.
because all of a sudden I am just gonna be so mean to myself based on these like curated things I'm seeing on social media,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you said how much money we're talking, and one hand's like, I'll give you 500 for a year off social media, and the other hand's like, all right, I'll give you 500.
Yeah.
And so then you're like, okay, that's that for a year. And so then you had to define what you were saying for social media. So did I hear it was like Instagram and Facebook, or what were your?
Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And all right. So were you like all in right out the gate, or were you like, oh, this could be really hard? Or what was your thought process back last spring break?
Yeah. My thought process was like, if I delete TikTok, like I might lose all my drafts, like all those like fun memories that I had with my friends and stuff. And
Uh-huh.
then I was afraid to delete Instagram because I forgot my password. So I was afraid I couldn't like log back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just with Facebook, like I don't really use Facebook. I just use it to
Mhm.
follow my aunt because she does these bunch of outs. So I do them with her. So
Uh,
yeah.
okay. So you were like, oh, you were a little nervous about a
Yeah.
couple of those things, but what
Yeah.
got you over the hump? Was it the money that you were like,
It was the money, but
yeah,
like I when I was scrolling through like TikTok or Instagram, I've always felt like I was like comparing myself to these other girls that were better, quote unquote, better than me. And I just didn't really like it.
yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so wise. Good job for noticing that, right?
Yeah.
Because you put your air quotes on like better. What? No, they're not better. They're
Right.
different. Like
They just
we're
they're I just view them as like more pretty,
yeah,
like not
right.
like just just scrolling through and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we all do it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we sometimes forget that, yeah, it's the lens, it's the curation,
Right.
it's like our frame of mind,
Mhm.
in relationship to it. So it's a lot of things. It's, I think, multifaceted thing, really.
Yeah.
So that is awesome that you were like, okay, yes, there's a payout, money, actual money, but there's
Yeah.
also a payout of, let me try this experiment and see what I can learn from it. And maybe I can realize, like, I'm sure. Okay. So right away, did you have, you said you were nervous about a few of those things. So talk about the first month that you were doing this. Was there any point that you're like, oh, and you noticed those times that you would go on social media, or no?
Yeah, a lot because I spent most of my time just like scrolling through TikTok and
Mhm.
just wasting time on that. But
Mhm.
even like I just felt like I didn't have anything to do when I was bored. So when I was bored, I would just go on TikTok and like scroll. So it was kind of hard for me to like get used to that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of times with workout, like from the workout space, that's where my mind goes a lot. Um, we have to get used to kind of pushing ourselves out of that comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
So you were like, okay, when I'm bored, I go on TikTok and scroll, or I go on some other social media and scroll.
Yeah.
And so, like, living in the uncomfortableness of, okay, what do I do now? So,
Right.
did anything like cool come out of it? I'm sure some cool things came out of it. What were some of the, like, were there any alternatives that you found that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I made time for that, or I decided to do that?
Yeah. I actually went to the gym more when I
Yeah.
started to get bored. I would
Okay.
actually like I play soccer, so I
Yeah.
would like go to soccer field and like practice by myself and try to get better and stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah,
Did you find you made more of an effort to see your friends in person, or did that, well, we had the COVID situation, but that, I don't know. I'm not
yeah,
sure. What
yeah.
do you
That was
think?
kidding. Like when I first deleted it, like all the COVID situation. But
Yeah.
then once it got over, I felt like I was hanging out with more people in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
yeah.
Neat. All right. So were there like surprising things that you overcame during it? And then I can't wait to get to the part where like, here we are now.
Right.
What do you want to do with this info? But before with that, like was there any like surprising things or things you learned that you were like, oh, I want to remember this?
Yeah, some things that I learned is, like, not to really compare myself to others because I found myself doing that a lot, like, scrolling just through social media,
Yeah.
and I don't wanna do that anymore because I was in a bad mindset
Mm,
when I first got it and when I had it before I deleted it,
yeah.
and I would just hear, like, my friends, like, talking about, like, "Oh, did you see her, like, her post?" I was like, "No, I didn't, because I don't have it." So,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it was just it was hard at first, and then I think it got better as it went on.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really hard question and I don't even know the answer to it. So
Okay.
like stop comparing because the mindset it was.
Right,
So what's the alternative? So a lot of times like we want to replace with something better.
right,
So instead of saying like Kirsten, don't compare yourself.
right.
What's the alternative? Like what do we think the alternative is? If comparison is here, what are some of the alternatives we could do instead of comparing?
Um,
What about like appreciating them and appreciating our
right,
situation? That could be
yeah,
one.
like,
What else?
maybe trying to set the bar, like, to them, like, "Oh, like, I'm made in God's image, and so are they."
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Like, I don't know if it's from a song or what, but like imperfectly perfect,
Yeah, right,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. And we are all so human,
right,
right? So it's our brains, like there's something in us, and I don't know all the science behind this, but there's something in us that does go to comparison.
right,
And so I do think that we can choose, like we could fall into it
right,
still, even
yeah,
after your experiment.
yeah,
I'm sure there were times that you can and you will fall into comparison, but let's not forget to remember that we can choose something else in the moment. And then when we mess up, we're like, oh, that's gonna happen. Like,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So good.
And I
Yeah.
was also thinking that, like, yeah, we're all made in God's image, and that image looks perfect on social media, but, like,
Mm,
they could be going through things that we don't know about, and we don't really know what they're going through.
so true. So
Yeah.
true. I know like when I have major setbacks and stuff, my natural instinct is not to share about the setbacks on
Right.
social media.
Yeah.
I think, oh my gosh, I want to be positive. I want to be encouraging. I'm in pain right now. I'm struggling.
Right.
Like nobody wants to hear about that. But there's been times where like I'm like, okay, just just share about it.
Right.
And then people are often like, yeah, same here. you
Yeah.
know, whether
Right.
that be in person or anywhere. Like the
Right.
times that I have found where I thought I was in this like struggle alone and I ended up sharing with friends, in my like weakest moments even sometimes just like,
Right.
oh, um they were like, holy smokes, that has happened to me and or whatever. It like brought us together
Right. Yeah.
in a way that's really wonderful. Sometimes social media, though, like if we're looking for validation, I'm just thinking from a social media standpoint, like sometimes whether it's a, a high point or a low point, if we're looking for that like validation and feedback and it doesn't come in the way we think it should, then that can be like really not helpful for your mindset.
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
see.
not comparing. I'm taking notes over here, but apparently I can't read my own writing. What about that? What else did you learn? Or what else
Um,
surprised you? Either one.
something else that surprised me was, like, once I deleted it, I realized like in person. I wasn't comparing myself to others either.
Okay, tell me more. That's interesting.
Yeah, so like I would see all these people on social media before I deleted it,
Yeah,
and I would just be like, "Oh, like she has like cute clothes, like I want that." Like,
yeah,
yeah. And then like once I started seeing people in person, like I wouldn't really do that anymore. Like I'd be like, "Oh, that's cute," but like I wouldn't compare myself to what their
yeah.
like their appearance or whatever.
Uh-huh. Oh, that's really interesting. So, yeah, that's so true. Sometimes when we start making improvements or changes or differences in one area of our life, we can see it how it transforms and like reflects in other areas.
Right.
That's really encouraging.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So how it changed in real life too.
Yeah.
IRL, if you will. See, I'm not that old. Someone was like, I forget the communication, and it said IRL. And one of my friends was like, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, in real life, I guess.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess we're here, we're there. Okay. So, all right. So, what I ask this to my clients a lot at the end of a personal coaching
Yeah.
session,
Mhm.
and we're not, what do you want to take with you from this experience?
I think I would want to take with me like people could be going through like the same situation as you, even if you like you can't see what they're going through. So like not comparing myself to others because they could be going through the same thing as I am in a weak spot of your life.
Yeah. Oh, so good. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So I want to know, so this happened at spring break last year.
Yeah.
And then you just shared with me before we hit record that you got to spend some time with family. Was it the same family this year?
Yeah, it was.
So you got to see them again. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about just like a couple fun things from that time with the family. And then I want to know still about what you're going to do next. Like, what kind of changes you're going to stick with, or what you're going to transition out of, or anything like that. So, first, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about your spring break this year. How was it?
It was really good. We just hung out at the beach. We swam at the pool. There was actually 21 other people that we stayed with. So it was a big
Wow.
crowded house for a whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it was crazy. It was
That's
really fun though.
amazing. That
Yeah.
is so fun and
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my goodness.
It was so
It's
fun.
like the picture of a spring break trip, right? It's like
Yeah.
what you think of. It's like, all right, let's all rent a house. Let's
Right.
go to the
Yeah.
beach. That's so
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
And then you got to spend a lot of time with cousins and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. That's so
Yeah.
fun. Cool. So did your aunts ask you anything this year? And then what are you going to do now? What are you going to do next?
Yeah. So recently it was like 2 days ago I re-downloaded Instagram,
Okay.
and I haven't gone on it too much because like I feel like it's not like I don't have it. Like it just feels like that. Like I'll scroll through it like a little bit, but like
Uh-huh.
I'll just get off. But I haven't downloaded TikTok yet.
Okay.
So I don't think I will download TikTok because it that wasted most of my time. Like just scrolling through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think it would be helpful? This is the coach in me talking here. Is there anything, like any boundaries to keep yourself healthy with Instagram that you want to incorporate now that you've had this year-long experiment?
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Um I think maybe just not posting as much. Like I used to post like a lot before I deleted it.
Yeah.
Um I've posted like twice since I've got it back because it was just like to catch up from the year, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
Did you share in your post like been gone for a year? What's up, homies?
Yeah, all my friends commented. They were like, "Oh my word, she's back. Like she got
She's
her money
back.
and she's back and better than ever."
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Yeah.
So one thing that because I did notice this one time with Instagram, is I was in this like bad mindset, and I must have, I don't know, like a twitch. I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I went to Instagram, and like I said earlier, I realized I was in a like I was being critical of myself anyway.
Right.
And then I'm going on Instagram, and that was just like basically making it worse because the way I was looking at it.
Right.
So two different things that have really helped me with that. So I don't compare myself, is knowing that we're all on our own path.
Right.
And I'm exactly where I need to be. And I like to encourage and remind other people, like, you are exactly where you need to
Right.
be.
Yeah.
Right now. Like, say that out loud.
Yeah.
And then also just honoring that sometimes if I'm really like beating myself up, maybe I shouldn't go on Instagram. But
Right.
when I am on Instagram, we're all on our own path.
Right.
And one thing I heard too is like, you know how we all have heard is like highlight reel.
Yeah.
Well, and now we have actual reels, which
Right.
I've kind of got into recently, like this week with the staycation.
Yeah. Yeah.
The kids, like the kids had a yes day, and they're doing experiments, so whatever. I did some reels this week, and I was like, oh, this is so fun.
Yeah.
But to remind myself that it is a highlight reel, so I could look at my own highlight reels of my kids like doing crazy things.
Yeah.
And that's cool too. Like just acknowledging that this is a curated reel.
Right.
And then also just, I think we kind of both said it earlier, is like appreciating other people. Like I appreciate other people. So that sounds bad, but like really appreciating them and not causing it to be like comparative. Right. So just like really just appreciating them, not for like business reasons and be like, how did they get there? Just be like, that is amazing. Let's go. But a lot of times this all runs in the background and we don't think of any of it. So I've kind of got down this little rabbit trail, but the thing is like, we're all on our own path. And I want everyone listening to be like, I say out loud, I am exactly where I need to be.
Right.
And so if it helps us, and just notice how going on Instagram before, after, during makes you feel. And if you figure out that it, those things start coming up in you again, and it's not healthy for you, then it's totally fine to experiment like you did. It doesn't have to be a year, or it could.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe, hey, make some money off the deal.
Yeah. Right.
And, all 5 kids that listen to this podcast, I want you, because it's mostly obviously adults, but I want you to campaign with your parents and see if you can get a deal to get paid to stay on social media. That could be fun experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like, I want us to just remember that healthy for you, Carly, healthy for me, Kirsten, can be different. And that's totally cool.
Right.
It's totally cool. In different seasons of life. Like there's been times where I could eat lots of red meat for whatever reason. Now my body, when I eat red meat, I have like, it doesn't like it.
Yeah.
A reaction to it.
Right.
So, well, we went all over the place there, Kirsten. Come on. So anything else as we kind of wrap up? First of all, thank you for your bravery. Thank you for sharing your story on this little slice of your story. It's really inspiring to me. That's why I was like asking your mom. I'm like, I want to talk to her. Like, this is so important and interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of you for taking that leap of saying like, I am going to try this for a year.
Right.
So I wonder if we could all, we don't have, you and I don't have to answer this question, but something to think about is like, all right, what would I be willing to experiment with that may open doors. It might
Right.
help me like kind of break through some patterns that aren't the best,
Yeah.
you know, and rally the troops around you, like join a community. You know, we do fitness inspired as a community. I do personal training as well, but
Yeah.
it's like, it's joining a community, like getting your parents involved, getting your family involved, invested in it too, just makes it better.
Yeah.
Like if you have layers of why, like, so you had layers of why for this.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had the layer of the money, the payout.
Yep.
And then you had this thought in your head, like, I wonder what would happen if I did this.
Right.
Besides getting a grand.
Yeah.
And so it was partly the money, but if it takes the money, like sometimes many times when we put money on the line, time on the line, energy on the line, that is going to increase your investment and it's going to increase what you're going to get out of it.
Yeah. I think money like was the one on the line that really like hooked me in.
That's awesome. We've been doing the last couple of months, since the new year with my family. Each month we do like galfan, like our last time galfan goals, and each of us pick a goal and how many repetitions we want to get for this goal. And then we color in the smiley faces that Addison draws, beautiful artwork. Yeah. And I always at the end of the month ask everyone in the family, like individually, what helped you meet your goal? Right. And my daughter almost always says some version of stating the goal. She doesn't say it like that, but like the fact that here's what the goal is.
Yeah.
And she is very motivated by that. We do $5 for each person. It's $5, but she's motivated by like, we're going to go to Five Below and she's going to get something.
Yeah.
And that works. So know what works for you. And like, for me, it's that like teamwork makes the dream work, that we're all kind of doing separate goals, but we're all like, we're doing this, you know, like filling in. Like for me, the tracking really helps, like rather than making your to-do list on and on and on and on. What about if we kind of rein it in and color those smiley faces in, or give yourself a star, or like high fives or high tens? That's helpful for me. Anyway, so different things work for different people. And I think honor that. Yeah. Honor that. So is there anything you want to leave us with or encourage us to do? Do you have any advice for the fact that my daughter is already asking for a phone?
I would say just maybe like take it slow with the phone. Like maybe not get Instagram. Like my mom set a rule that I didn't get Instagram till like 8th grade. Mm-hmm. So like that, I think that really helped. And maybe not like get Snapchat for a while if she uses Snapchat, or like just limit
she's
TikTok.
8. She has none of those things.
I know. Yeah.
She's 8.
Yeah. Like just when she
so
gets
I plan on taking it very slow. She's already like, when I'm 13, can I have a phone? I'm like, we're not even talking about it right now.
Yeah.
Aw. So yes, you're so cute. You're like, take it slow.
Yeah, definitely. And like maybe limit like TikTok or like screen time or all that.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's like the boundaries are there to keep us healthy.
Right.
And to take ownership over that, no matter what your age is super helpful. Of like, healthy for me in this season is this. And so it is helpful to have boundaries, whether you're a kid or an adult, to have some boundaries to keep us healthy. I love that. That's great. So anything else that you want to leave us with that we didn't cover?
I don't think so.
No. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and being here. See, this is an awesome way to do virtual too. Great connection. I love it. So thank you for being here, Carly. Woo!
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're amazing. And I love what you're taking from it. I love that you had the determination to set your mind to something and do it and
Yeah.
see it through. And how cool that it's exactly kind of 1 year, last spring break to this spring break.
Yeah,
And you
that's
did it.
crazy. Yeah,
And you
it
did
didn't
it.
even feel like a year. It was crazy.
Yeah. See, so don't forget to remember the things you learned and just
Right.
do some check-ins.
Yeah, I will,
Awesome.
of course.
Yay. And tell your mom I will see her tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m.
All right, sounds good.
All right. See you later, girlie. Thank
Yeah,
you. You
yeah,
are
thank you.
awesome.
You too.